Slavia stood on the doorstep. Olga Dmitrievna isn't here, is she? No. And what are you doing? She asked with suspicion. I looked over at myself, lying on the bed, and said, Lying down. I can see that. But I heard Olga Dmitrievna asked you to find Shurik. Well, yes. And? What's the point? I'm sure she already turned the whole camp upside down. Not much time has passed. Why should we panic? You know, stuff could happen. Slavia looked at me thoughtfully. Get up. Do I have to? I was so worn out that even the thought of going somewhere frightened me. Yes, you do. Slavia is not a person who I could ever say no to. I stood up reluctantly and went out of the cabin with her. I stood at the doorway for some time, relaxing the beams of summer sun, though I was rather frying. Where shall we go? We have to look everywhere. Great idea. Just great. The first stop on our route was the library. Slavia went to Zinea, sitting at the table, and spoke to her. I stood in the doorway. I didn't want to communicate with this librarian any more than necessary. A few moments later, Slavia came back to me. So? Nothing. She shook her head, as expected. The canteen. We still had time before lunch starts, so there was no usual crowd of pioneers. It was empty inside and outside of the building. While Slavia was talking to cooks, I was sitting and playing with the salt shaker. Some salt spilled out of the pot. Certainly I would be worried if I was superstitious. Strangely enough, he wasn't here either. It wouldn't be unexpected if she had found him, for instance, in the refrigerator. The next step, according to our plan, was the infirmary. I decided not to go inside and waited outside for Slavia. No results. There were pioneers playing football on the sports ground. It would be hard for Shurik to get lost among them. Finally, we reached the clubhouse. You think he could be here? I'd think that's the first place people would have searched. Let's go in. Empty inside. Slavia opened the door and went into the next room. I followed her. This all seemed to me to be a stupid undertaking. This was strange, especially because it was Slavia's idea. I mean, I understand responsibilities and so on, but isn't it obvious that he isn't in the camp? After all, he isn't playing hide-and-seek with us, is he? No one here either. What did you expect? He'd be sitting in a closet? Well, it seems like I've offended her. Sorry. But seriously, I understand. But we have to check all possibilities. Okay, listen. What do you really think? About Shurik's disappearance? Yes. Maybe he went into the forest and has been caught by a forest spirit. She laughed at that. What a fabulous story. However, in this camp, you never know. Yes, true that. What? Nope, done. But now isn't the time for jokes. Cheer up. We'll find him. So how can I help you? You? I guess you can't. She smiled and was going to leave, but suddenly stopped. However, could you step out for a moment? Why not? Okay. I stepped out of the infirmary and leaned against the wall. I wonder what she might be doing. Something that I can't even see? After a minute, the door opened and Slavia came out. She was carrying a small bundle. Do not ask about the bundle. Good luck, I shouted after her. Thank you. She gave me one of her sweet smiles before leaving. If you think that you're the only man here. I looked around the area. Of course. Electronic was quick to flee. I still didn't want to walk in the woods alone. If you ask me, I would go with Slavia. I'll go with him. Very well. It's better together. Are you sure? I asked Slavia in a whisper. I wanted to be sure, but she didn't answer, just smiled. I looked speechlessly at Slavia for some time. Why is she always helping me? Very good. Good luck then, both of you. We'll need it. The camp leader and the other girls said their goodbyes and went on their ways. I was quite surprised that they were treating our night walk through the forest to the abandoned camp as something normal. Well, it can't really be helped. Wait a minute, I'll bring a flashlight. You're not afraid at all, are you? Meaning? Slavia turned round and looked at me, smiling in a strange way, either with misunderstanding or gentle mockery. Or maybe I was just seeing things. Well, night, the forest, the old camp. Yes, it sort of gives me the chills. Just sort of. Are you afraid? No, well, yes, but it's natural human reaction in this kind of situation. I didn't want to show my fear, but I wasn't really scared. I felt that being scared is what I should be in a situation like this. It was like my body had stopped producing antibodies to fight against an infection. I was scared, not by the night forest, but by the fact that I was reacting to everything that was happening in the wrong way. On the other hand, I didn't want to make a fool of myself. I see. Slavia smiled again and continued walking. If Slavia hadn't taken my hand, I surely wouldn't have been able to stand it. It won't be as scary this way, she smiled. I couldn't say anything else, just grasped her hand tightly. What am I even doing here? Looking for Shurik at night in the forest here? How could I ever agree? There's not a single normal person who would... But the world around me can't be really called normal. I tried to persuade myself that I was finding answers and that it can't really get any worse. To be honest, nothing bad had actually happened to me during the last 4 days in this camp. Besides, I had no special reason to think that something bad would happen. Maybe it's just the way the world works. People can't live without adventures. Shall we go? Yeah, I guess. But we didn't make a move. Slavia seemed to be waiting for me to take the first step, but I had just enough courage to stand still without running away. I shivered, picking out more and more remains of the joy of children long gone with a flashlight. Creepy. Slavia was not only holding my hand by now, but embracing it, firmly pressing herself against me. However, I didn't sense fear in her voice. I wonder whether it was a good idea to come here in the middle of the night. Perhaps not. Shall we go back then? No, what about Shurik? She said in genuine astonishment. Well, Shurik, why did he even come here in the first place? Maybe he isn't even here. Where else could he be? I don't know, eaten by wolves maybe? Don't say that. Slavia frowned and stepped away from me. I was already so used to being with her that I was slightly upset by her reproach. Well, okay. Let's assume that there are no wolves. Though you can never be sure. Well, since we're here, let's search. Look! When we returned to the place we started from, Slavia picked something up from the floor and gave it to me. It was an old doll with torn, frayed threads, missing a hand and an eye, faded from damp. So what? I pity it. What, this doll? Yeah. Why would you pity it? Someone played with her, then just threw her away and forgot about her. And she's been here all alone, all these years, in the rain, in the cold. I couldn't really tell if Slavia was serious or not. I don't think this is the time to think about such things. On the other hand, what would be the proper time for that? Slavia looked really upset. Yes, maybe. I took the doll and examined it. I remember how I once found a stuffed lion the same way that Slavia just found this doll. I took him home, washed him, and was careful with him as careful with him as with other toys, even though he was long past his retirement age. You should give it to Yelena. Slavia laughed. Suddenly the wind howled down the passage, singing some kind of eerie tune. When a light flashed and I instinctively jumped, caught my leg on something, and tumbled to the floor. Are you all right? Slavia ran over to me and helped me get up. Yes, more or less. I tripped on a trap door. It's strange that we hadn't noticed it already. The dirt around the door was cleared. It seems like it was open not too long ago. We're not going down there, are we? I asked, trying to preempt Slavia's suggestion. She only gave me a sad glance. Come on, are we playing at diggers now? I moaned while lifting the hatch cover with quite an effort. My common sense was crying out, telling me I shouldn't do this, but contrarily, my logic suggested that if this world wanted to kill me, I'd already be dead. But that's only because of Slavya, otherwise there's no way I would go down there. 2 meters of a rusty metal ladder led down to a dirty concrete floor. I leaned over the edge and illuminated a narrow passage, going somewhere into the darkness. And what is there? I think I heard about a bomb shelter under the old camp. A bomb shelter? Well, that's pretty logical, considering the time it was built. Why would Shirk need to go there? I don't know. Of course, it wasn't necessarily him who opened the hatch, and it's obvious that someone had opened it recently. But who would be more likely to get the idea of going down there than a mad inventor? If we discard theories of supernatural involvement, there could be no other humans in this forest. At least, that's what I thought. Alright, I'll go first. Then, if everything's fine, you follow me. What might not be fine? Slavya looked scared, but seemed to ask more out of politeness. Well, I don't know. Rats, for example? Are you afraid of rats? I guess I should have asked. I sighed deeply and began to descend. We advanced slowly, holding hands. In the pitch darkness, the flashlight was not helping much. Only occasionally it would illuminate pieces of old newspapers and scrap metal lying here and there. Suddenly it began to feel as if the walls and ceiling, covered in endless twisting cords, were pressing in on me, as if the passage was getting narrower. I spread my arms, trying to measure the passage width. Are we still far off? Asked Slavya sadly. Far from where? I've got no clue. All right. Just then, a massive metal door appeared before me, as if from nowhere. Oh! Cried Slavya softly. I tried the handle, and it seemed to yield a bit. You ready? Not sure. Though, speaking frankly, what could you prepare for in such a situation? The wheel turned a few times, squeaking horribly, then finally reached its limit and went quiet. I pulled on the door with all my weight, and it reluctantly opened. There was some sort of chamber behind it. Whee! Which turned out to be the bomb shelter itself. When we entered, the light suddenly went on, making me flinch. Though it was likely that there was an independent power source here, at the time when these catacombs had been dug, people had been building things to last. The bomb shelter looked exactly like what I imagined. It had everything needed to sustain prolonged human existence during a war. The lockers contained chemical protection suits, gas masks, dry rations, and water cans. At the far wall, I noticed a lot of various tools, pressure meters, radiation meters, a radio, and some others. However, this place looked like nobody had used it, which was not actually that surprising. Furthermore, it looked like nobody had ever entered it after it was built. Slavya gave me a questioning look. Well, Shirk is definitely not here. But he was. No idea. But if he was here, he couldn't just vanish. I looked around the room again and noticed another door in the wall to my left. Maybe there? However, the door wouldn't open. What if he barred it from the other side? But why? I don't know. Still, it was quite possible, assuming he was there at all. By the look of things, Shirk was hiding, maybe running from someone. Such thoughts made me uneasy, and I felt like putting myself on the other side of the door as fast as I could. I pushed hard, but the door only gave a dull creak. Here, maybe this could work. Slavya handed me a crowbar. I fumbled with it, considering how I could better tackle the door. Let's give it a try. Squee! Using all my strength, I managed to pull the door off its hinges, and it crashed to the floor. While I was recovering from my effort, Slavya pointed the flashlight down the newly opened passage. There's a corridor here, just the same as the previous one. Geez, this place is a real maze. Shall we go? Hold on. I sat down on a bunk, took a dusty pillowcase off a pillow, and wiped my forehead. Let me catch my breath. Slavya sat down next to me and began to study the details of the floor tile patterns. Better turn off the flashlight for now. Oh, yes. She blushed slightly and clicked the switch off. It's just plain creepy. I caught myself thinking that I have not been treating these events as real for the last half hour. As if they had not been happening to me, as if they were just a dream. Just like back then, 4 days ago, in the first minutes after I found myself here. Yes, lately I might have started getting used to this world, this reality, as it became reality for me. And that feeling deep in my soul that I had to find an exit was not so acute anymore. But now again, in a blink of an eye, the forest, the old camp, the bomb shelter, it was absolutely nothing supernatural about it, but neither was it anything normal like anything from my previous life. Yes? Agreed Slavia. Don't you find any of this strange? What exactly? Well, the fact that we're sitting here, just you and me, in the night. Wouldn't it be normal in such a situation to instead wait till morning to call the police? Yes, I guess so, she replied thoughtfully. Of course, I almost volunteered. I shouldn't have. Well, almost isn't quite right, but still. But you just wanted to help. If Shurik is here, we should find him as soon as possible. At this rate, we will be the ones they're looking for. You know, he did manage to get lost here. Slavia looked frustrated. Alright, I didn't mean anything like that. Maybe he's not here. Maybe he actually went back to the camp a long time ago. Yes, maybe. But we should still check, right? Of course. Slavia got up and held out her hand to me. It seemed she wasn't as afraid of me as me. Though I was already tired of being scared myself, and now only wanted all of this to end as soon as possible. Look. Slavia held my hand tighter and pointed at a breach in the middle of the tunnel. It was wide enough for a man to climb through, or to fall down. Maybe... I pointed the light down, but there seemed to be nothing but ground at the bottom. I think we should check this out. The hole was shallow enough for us to climb out afterwards, so at first sight there was nothing to be afraid of. I climbed down carefully and helped Slavia. We found ourselves in some kind of mine. The walls and ceiling were reinforced by wooden beams and rails stretched out into the distance. Here and there, the earth pressing down against the fragile design broke through the boards, which were rotting with age. It made the whole structure look a bit unreliable. Where do you think we are? Don't know, some kind of mine? What could they have mined here? Coal, perhaps? Perhaps. We started to advance slowly. Stones would treacherously shift under our feet, now and then. The beam coming from the flashlight trembled and jumped from one wall to the other, often casting shapeless shadows which disappeared as soon as the light was pointed at them. It's scarier here than above. Guess so. The further we went, the stronger my confidence became that Shurik had absolutely nothing to do with this place. He couldn't have been taken by Chupacabra, could he? Alright, we can't rule out that possibility either.